a man who had been charged with kidnapping, robbery, drug possession, and attempted murder, well, he was out on bond. And because of that, he was able to go out and murder an innocent young woman. Hello, true crimerers. This is the case of Aniah Blanchard. Viewer discretion is advised. Before we get started, I am filming this on April 6th, 2023, and this is actually still an ongoing case, so to speak, meaning that it actually has not gone to trial yet. So, if you're watching this video in the future, hi in the future, am I still chunky? But also, if you're watching this in the future, there may be a lot more details that are made public than was available as of me filming this video. So, just a heads up. Aniah Blanchard was born on June 22nd, 2000. She was born in Northport, Alabama, and lived pretty much most of her life in Homewood, Alabama. Her parents, who by the time she was about 4 or 5 years old had already been divorced, their names are Elijah Blanchard and Angela Harris. Both of them would go on to remarry. So Aniah would have her birth mom and dad, but she also had a stepmom and a stepdad. Aniah would go on to graduate from Homewood High School, and her aspirations were to go on to basically be an educator. And so after high school, she started to attend Southern Union State Community College, where she was attempting to get her degree to become an educator. Aniah was a beautiful young woman. She had a beautiful smile and a beautiful soul. Her brother, whose name is also Elijah, he would say that Aniah was just someone who just simply loved living. She loved life. She never took any moment for granted. Her brother would say no matter if she was just on her bed playing with her dog, Blue, or if she was at the gym, or she was out with friends, she just simply enjoyed every moment of life. And she rarely let anything bring her down. Her stepdad, who I believe is a UFC fighter, if I'm not mistaken, he said he met Aniah when she was about 4 years old, and that even from that young age, when he met her, he had this immediate feeling of, this is a child who makes me want to be a better man. And that as she grew up, she had that effect on literally everyone she came into contact with. Aniah was kind, she was giving, she was selfless, she was generous. If you were having a bad day, she could brighten that bad day within moments. She could make you feel like the most important person in the world. But sadly, this is a true crime page, and one night in 2019, one man would take all of that away from the world. It was the night of October 23rd, 2019. That night, Aniah had been out with her brother Elijah. The two of them actually attended the same college, and they lived roughly 10 minutes away from one another. So they were hanging out that night, and then sometime around approximately 11 p.m. or so, Aniah would drive Elijah back to his home. And then her plan that she told him and that her roommate knew was that she was just going to go straight home. At 11:09 p.m., using Snapchat messaging, Aniah's friend and roommate, Sarah, sent a message to her saying, "Are you almost home?" Aniah responded with just one word, "Yeah." From Elijah's place, depending on when exactly she dropped him off, she should have been home sometime around between 11:10, 11:20 or so. But when 11:30 hit, Sarah, the roommate, noticed that she still wasn't home. So she sent another message, something along the lines of, "Hey, did you decide to go out instead?" And Aniah, allegedly Aniah, responded back with something along the lines of, hey, I'm going out with a guy named Eric. I just met him. So basically, she's saying she literally just met a man named Eric, and now she's suddenly hanging out with him. Sarah and Aniah, for safety reasons, allowed each other access to see the location of their phones. I know they can do that on Snapchat. I'm not sure if they were using another app for it or not, but Sarah checked the location and saw that Sarah was near an apartment complex where a lot of people from that college would hang out at and like party and, have a good time. So Sarah didn't think much of it, and so she just went to bed. The next morning, Sarah wakes up and she notices that Sarah is not there. Aniah's dog, Blue, was in Sarah's room. The door was closed, and it looked like, Aniah hadn't given Blue any food or water, which is very unusual, and that caused a lot of concern because Aniah and her dog Blue were like best buds. I can relate. Essentially, Blue was the equivalent of her child, and she would never, ever abandon him or not feed him or give him water or take care of him. That was just way out of character for her. So Sarah felt something was wrong. So Sarah texts the brother, Elijah. Elijah says, well, I haven't seen her or heard from her since she dropped me off last night. So then Elijah contacts a woman that Aniah babysits for. And Aniah was supposed to babysit for this woman like that morning. And when he gets in contact with this person, the woman says that I have not seen or heard from Aniah, and that she was a little concerned because she couldn't get a hold of her. Aniah's phone went straight to voicemail, and Elijah had tried as well, of course, and so did Sarah. Her phone just kept going to voicemail. But the woman she was supposed to babysit for said, yeah, she was a no-show this morning, and so, what do I do? Elijah immediately calls, their parents, and basically all four parents go straight to the area of Homewood, and they hit the ground running. They report Aniah missing, and they immediately begin searching for her. The police obviously got involved, and then the media got involved, and this whole thing very quickly became a massive community-wide effort, a community-wide search. They looked absolutely everywhere for Aniah. At this point, she was missing. Her car was missing. Her cell phone appeared to have been powered off, or the battery died, or something, but it is not active. On October 25th, 2019, in Montgomery, Alabama, and this is approximately 60 miles or so away from where Aniah was last seen, her car was found. Her vehicle had some pretty significant damage to the front of it. The car was also filthy on the outside, and it was in complete just chaos on the inside. And all of that was very uncharacteristic because Aniah kept her car very clean, and also no one knew why her car was all the way in Montgomery. But most alarmingly, outside of the actual damage to the car, there was a large amount of blood on the passenger seat of the car. There was also a bullet hole in the passenger side door, and there were two bullet casings, in one of the cup holders. The blood would be immediately tested, and it was confirmed to be that of Aniah Blanchard. The amount of blood that was left behind was enough for them to believe that Aniah may no longer be alive. But where is she? The vehicle also had a very strong odor of bleach, as if someone had attempted to start cleaning it, but obviously they gave up. On October 28th, police who had been canvassing and searching the area and also had been going around to various locations to see if anyone had seen her and if there by chance was any camera footage. And so they came across a gas station that was literally like 2 or 3 minutes down the road from where Aniah lived, where they said, yeah, she was in here that particular night. And so they pulled up footage And at 11:21 p.m. on the night she went missing, Aniah was spotted in this convenience store. She was walking around. She was in there for just a few minutes, and all she bought was a bag of chips. And unfortunately, that decision to go in and get a bag of chips would prove to be fatal. Police have never, even to this day, have never recovered her cell phone. But they are still able, because of today's wonderful technology, they were still able to trace the movements of the phone that night. They did, in fact, see that at 11:21 that her cell phone was in the location of the gas station, and then it went towards the direction of Longleaf Drive and Cox Road. Then it went down Wire Road and Shug Jordan Parkway. And then 26 minutes after Aniah was seen on camera at that gas station, her cell phone at 11:47 p.m. shuts off. They can't tell if it was powered off deliberately or if the battery died. They can't tell. And the phone has never been powered on since. They were also able to find CCTV footage of her vehicle. And this is where the true cause of concern came in. Outside of that gas station where there was images of her inside, they see her vehicle parked, and then they don't have the best angle, but they can see that a man gets into the passenger side of her vehicle. And then later on, they find more footage at another gas station where that same man gets out of the vehicle from the passenger side. And then it also catches Aniah. And then eventually the two of them get back into the car. And then her vehicle is picked up again just a little bit later by a tag reader on Interstate 85. But then that's the last time it's spotted on camera. On November 6, 2019, Aniah is still missing, and there is no signs of her, no traces of her at all yet. But on that day, police released an image to the public of a man they're calling a person of interest. This man was also caught on CCTV at the same gas station that Aniah was seen in, and at the same time she was there. This man, at the time, did not appear to be with her at all. It appeared that they didn't even know each other on camera, and they were very separate from each other. But it's very clear to them that he saw Aniah, and it looked as if he was looking at her everywhere she was going and almost stalking her within the convenience store. And then it picks him up leaving that store just moments after Aniah did. Once they released the image to the media, it would not take long to identify him. Less than 24 hours later, police were told who that man was. It was a 29-year-old man with his fair share of involvement with the police, with a large arrest record and a lot of criminal charges against him. His name is Ibraheem Yazeed. As a matter of fact, Ibraheem Yazeed was out on bond. He had been charged with kidnapping, robbery, drug possession, attempted murder, and those charges were still current and pending, and he was released on a $300,000 or so bond. And so, even though he was charged with all that stuff, he was still allowed to roam the world. It is also believed that he is responsible for the attempted murder of 2 police officers back in 2012. In 2017, he had charges laid against him for aggravated battery against a police officer. He also had charges of murder back in 2018, and then attempted murder for someone else he allegedly tried to kill during that murder. And this man was just out there. With all of these charges, he was just out there. Hey, maybe don't put someone like that back on the streets. So on November 7th, 2019, a warrant was put out for his arrest, and it appeared that Ibraheem had already fled the area. But they were able to quickly locate him in Florida, where he led police on a brief high-speed pursuit, where he then got out of the vehicle and he began to run. And they were giving him warnings, please stop, stop, stop. And so they eventually caught him, and they had to take him down by force, and they arrested him. Later, police would reveal that a witness came forward to state that the night that she went missing, this witness saw a man who looked like Ibraheem force Aniah into her own car, and it looked like he did so at gunpoint. It wasn't like a big altercation. It seemed very quiet and subtle, but this witness told his friend, hey, we should call police. I just saw, what I just saw. And I guess the friend of this witness said, you know what, just don't get involved. It's probably nothing. Just, okay. So the witness didn't come forward until like a couple of days later after he saw her picture and realized what happened. Hi, to anyone out there in the future, please literally immediately always get involved when you see something like that, whether it's just immediately calling the police. That's what you should do first. But yeah, don't be like, man, it's probably not. You see a man with a gun force a woman into a car, that's a problem. Call the police immediately. Literally 100% of the time. Now, because they still haven't found Aniah, all they can really charge Ibraheem with is kidnapping, and he won't talk. He won't say a damn thing to them. He's saying, I didn't do anything, I'm innocent, which, technically speaking, he hasn't been proven guilty. So on November 25th, 2019, in a wooded area of Macon County, Alabama, human remains are discovered. They are so badly decomposed that it's almost completely skeletonized. This individual appears to have a gunshot wound to the skull, and the bullet is still basically in the skull. The clothing on this individual appears to be the same type of clothing that Aniah was seen wearing that night, and 2 days after the remains were discovered, using DNA and dental records, the remains were identified as 19-year-old Aniah Blanchard. So now, Ibraheem Yazeed, his charges are upped. Not only is he charged with kidnapping, but he is now also charged with capital murder, and the prosecution is seeking the death penalty. Again, he has still professed his innocence, and he will get his day in court. And just like every case out there, it is the prosecution's job to prove this individual's guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. So, to be fair, he is presumed innocent until proven guilty. They may have a significant amount of physical evidence connecting him to this murder, but that evidence, if it exists, has not been released for obvious reasons because, the trial, or they may not. I don't know. Because like I said, at the time of me making this video, the trial hasn't happened. The evidence hasn't been put forth. So, whatever they have will just be known in time. On just recently, like literally a month ago, on March 7th, 2023, Ibraheem Yazeed officially pleaded not guilty on all charges. And I can't find the exact trial date, but I believe it's supposed to happen this year. And the reason why there's been a few years of a gap is because he had been arrested literally just months before the whole COVID pandemic hit. And so we all know that, court things weren't happening for a while. So everything was pushed back. So they were basically going in order once they were able to restart things. So his official indictment didn't even happen until 2022, even though he was in jail awaiting all of this. And so that's why it's been so delayed. So what is the belief about what happened that night? First off, it is pretty much a certainty that Aniah and Ibraheem had no knowledge of each other before that fateful night. They had never met each other before. Based on the CCTV footage of the gas station, it appears that just by pure happenstance, it was Aniah who caught Ibraheem's eye in the gas station. This is a case of basically wrong place, wrong time. And from there, he decided, I guess, that he was going to rob her. I don't know if he had any other motivations behind it, like possible sexual assault. I don't know. But then he followed her out to the car, where it appears he relatively quietly accosted her with a gun and forced her into her car. They then drove to at least one other gas station, where it's unknown exactly what was going on in the car between the two of them. But it's either that he had her phone and was pretending to be her, responding to the roommate, and not the initial 1109 conversation, the one that happened a little bit later, where Aniah said she was out with a man named Eric. It's believed that either he had texted that, or he forced her to say something like that. Again, unknown. An official connected directly to this case said that Aniah appeared to have fought back. That at one point, the roles were reversed, where she was now sitting in the passenger seat and he was driving the car. That what they believe happened is that she just tried to get the gun. She tried to grab it. But unfortunately, Ibraheem either noticed or got it back from her, or whatever the case may be, and he then shot her in the head, right there in the car on the passenger seat. Hence the bullet hole through the passenger's side door, hence the blood all over the passenger side seat. The main reason why they think this, by the way, is because police had interviewed, I guess, acquaintances of Ibraheem. And one of these friends said that Ibraheem told him that he had once basically shot a girl because the girl tried to reach for his gun. He did not tell the friend who this girl was, and he did not specify when this happened. But he did tell the story after Aniah had been shot and killed. So they put two and two together and believe that that's what happened. Two other men, one named Antwain Squirmy Fisher and David Johnson Jr., they were also charged in connection with this case. And they were basically charged essentially with accessory charges, accessory after the fact, and then like the disposal of a human body. But the prosecution would eventually drop all the charges against those two men because they just did not have sufficient evidence to move forward with like prosecuting them. While awaiting trial, Ibraheem Yazeed has assaulted a few more officers, and he had now more charges placed against him. While the wait for, true justice for their daughter Aniah, her parents worked very diligently with the state leaders of Alabama to first bring forth Aniah's law, which has now since passed. And basically what Aniah's law is, so Alabama before this had, when it came to bail and bond and all that, the only criminals or alleged criminals who could not apply for and potentially get bail were alleged criminals who had capital charges against them. But everyone else basically could potentially get bail. Not to say that they would, but they could. This is why Ibraheem Yazeed was a technically free man with these pending charges of kidnapping, attempted murder, drug possession, assault, aggravated battery, the whole list. He was able to post that bail because he was simply allowed to. Well, Aniah's law in Alabama now adds exceptions to the list to be longer than just capital charges. This is crimes if you are charged with, say, arson, rape, kidnapping, child abuse, domestic violence, and attempted murder and murder charges, not just capital murder. Like I said, that law passed. So sadly, obviously it took what happened to Aniah for this to happen. But, if this had already been in place ahead of time, Aniah would likely still be alive. But unfortunately, her death is what was needed to make this official. So, as we stand now, Ibraheem Yazeed has not gone to trial. He has not been found guilty or not guilty. Meanwhile, Homewood Public Schools have since started a new scholarship. They put it in Aniah's name. And then there is a bench at Patriot Park in Homewood that has now been dedicated, that was put there and dedicated to Aniah. She may be gone physically, but those that knew and loved Aniah will always remember the joy she brought them. They will always remember the smile that could light up a room, and Aniah's kind and beautiful soul will never, ever be forgotten. And I hope that her and her family get the justice that she very much deserves. But that is it for this case, True Crime Maroonies. I hope you found it interesting. As usual, if you have tripped, fallen, and stumbled your way into this video by sheer luck, oops, you should be more careful next time. But also, hi, I'm Mike. If you like true crime, please subscribe and stick around. I tell 4 true crime stories a week here on the YouTubles. I tell one on Instagram, one on Facebook, and a few on TikTok throughout the week. All of my socials are in the description below. They're also in the link tree in my description below. Please feel free to follow me on those places if you want to. Next, if you have a case you would like for me to cover on here, please send it to my email. It's also listed below. But first, check my case list in my link tree and scroll through the names. There is about 4,500 names on there. You can search, and if you don't see the name, then email me just the name, where it happened, when it happened, and eventually, I promise, I will add it to my list to cover. If you do see the name, please don't email it to me. It's already there. I pick my cases as random as I can, so it will get covered eventually. I just don't know when. Next, if you would like to support me in any way, we do sell merch, including this shirt, Making a True Crimerer, amongst others, and we sell hoodies and a wine glass and stuff. So the link tree has that link as well, and we do ship internationally. It is all made and shipped by my good old buddy Adam. He does a wonderfully amazing job. So yeah, that's that. And lastly, if you have Discord and you want to join my Discord server, it's also in the link tree below. Please be over the age of 18 or you'll be given the old bootscaroonies out of there. It's a very quiet, very chill Discord. It's not busy. It's just a serene place to hang out. What? But that is it for this video. True Crime, a Rooney Dooney Dooney Ding Dong. Gross. And for today's ending, I have a medical question. I usually ask medical questions at the end of all of my videos. It's very consistent, if you've ever seen my content before. Is it normal to have 2 extra nipples on the bottom of your feet? Now, hear me out. So the other day I was tickling myself and noticed milk coming out of my feet, and that's unusual. But so I hope this isn't too much. I hope this isn't too much information for you guys to hear. But so I was